And welcome back to Biz Asia America, your link to Asia and beyond. I'm Michelle McCory at the NASDAQ market site in the heart of Times Square. 2012 was the best year for the U.S. housing market since 2007. That is according to the latest data. And let's go to Craig Mauro, who is standing by in Chicago with all those details. Craig.
That's right, Michelle. The National Association of Realtors released an eagerly awaited report on Tuesday of data for existing home sales in December. It gives us a final snapshot of how those sales did last year and, of course, of how the sluggish U.S. real estate market is doing as a whole. Winter is usually a slow period in U.S. real estate, especially in Chicago, where frigid temperatures can discourage people from trudging out to look for homes. But realtors here are reporting brisk sales in recent weeks.
We've seen exponential increase in activity for the month of January already over where we were, year over year. And talking to my buddies in the business, we're hearing the same thing in all the residential sectors, all the different neighborhoods we're talking to, the commercial sectors. We're expecting real estate to be back in 2013 in a big way.
Nationwide data from the National Association of Realtors showed a slight dip in existing home sales for December, but 9.2% growth for all of 2012. That's the best year for the U.S. market since 2007 and the strongest increase in nearly a decade. A lot in U.S. real estate depends on which market you're in. Chicago was one of the worst hit by the previous bubble and foreclosure crisis, but the metropolitan area's 19% year-on-year growth in December has realtors working overtime.
People are still out there buying. I've actually had a couple buyers lately that are even frustrated. And, in the last few years that hasn't been the case because they've just been able to get something very easily.
Interest rates for mortgages have been at historic lows too, which many say is a factor helping the U.S. market revive. This year, several new regulations take effect governing the specifics of mortgage lending that are supposed to protect home buyers from predatory lenders.
We're getting loans done. Are we having to do a lot of due diligence up front, really pay attention, really make sure that we're, dotting our I's and crossing our T's? Absolutely.
National data show home prices increasing as well. In fact, December was the 10th month in a row of year-over-year price gains, according to the Realtor Association. Now, another critical factor for the real estate market is the inventory of homes for sale, what is essentially the supply side of the equation. Now, realtors consider a 6-month inventory supply to enough houses to sell for 6 months to be a healthy number. And the data that just came out on Tuesday shows that the inventory continues to shrink. According to that data, in December, it was at 4.4 months, which is the lowest point that it's been at since May of 2005, which was shortly after the peak of the last boom. Michelle?
So definitely some improvement there, Craig. Now, one huge problem in the U.S. market over the last few years has been the flood of foreclosed properties as an after effect of the credit and property bubbles. So what is the latest regarding foreclosures?
That's right. That's been one of the biggest drags on the market after the bubble burst. And foreclosures tend to not only they inflate the inventory artificially of homes for sale, but they can also bring down prices. Those properties often sell below market value. There's a couple different types of those foreclosures when somebody cannot make their mortgage payments, and after a time, the bank essentially repossesses the property. And there's also what's called a short sale, which is kind of a way of technically avoiding a foreclosure, but the properties are still sold at a relatively low price. Now, over the past few years, millions of Americans entered into foreclosure, and those numbers were dragging down the market and making up a fairly large share of total sales. Now, in this data that just came out on Tuesday shows that 24% of total sales were of distressed properties like that, and that is actually an improvement over 2011 December when that share was 32%.
Okay, certainly some encouraging data there. Thank you so much, Craig Mauro, live for us in Chicago.